Hello, hello, hello. We are here. We are here. We are here. Welcome to Nathaniel Gaston's Writer's Wordshop. I, of course, am not Nathaniel Gaston. I am Wendy Washington Nochirione, sitting in for Nathaniel. So, what a great way to start our day and to be able to be here and to be able to stand in for Reverend Gadsden. It is Friday, April 12th, 2024. And just want, hello, hello, hello. And uh, this is, this is National Poetry Month. I'm having my own technical difficulty here. But this is National Poetry Month. And Mr. Chris, I believe I sent you um, the I sent you the poster for National Poetry Month. I'm not sure if you were able to get that.
Yes, ma'am. Coming right up.
All right.
There we go.
So it is National Poetry Month, and April, for the month of April, is National Poetry Month. And I just wanted to share that with you, that all around the country and prayerfully all around the world, people are celebrating. People are celebrating poetry. This is an artwork by illustrator Jack Wong. It's called Blessings by the Boat. And National Poetry Month started in 1996. It's a special occasion that celebrates poets' integral role in our culture and that poetry matters. Over the years, it has become the largest literary celebration in the world, the largest literary celebration in the world, with tens of millions of readers, students, K through 12 teachers, librarians, booksellers, literary event curators, publishers, families, and of course, poets, and Nathaniel Gadsden's Writer's Workshop, marking poetry's important place in our lives. So there are so many things that we can do and so many things that Nathaniel Gadsden's Writer's Workshop is doing to also celebrate, National Poetry Month. So I'm the opportunity to share with you all today. Okay. We've got a couple of events coming up as well. I'll go over and talk about them a little bit now, and then we will talk about them again a little bit later. And as we have people coming in, we also will share some other events, and then I will we'll share some poetry. I hope that works out for everyone, that we can do that. We do have one of the events that we have coming up. Not sure which one is the first one that you have, Minister Chris. Um, but we have, in honor of National Poetry Month, Nathaniel Gadsden's Writer's Wordshop and Life Esteem Incorporated presents We Wear the Mask. It's an interactive poetry writing workshop presented by Maria James Chow and open poetry reading. It will be held on Saturday, April 20th at Central Penn College. Refreshments, Goodwill offering, vendors, hello, silent auction, music, door prizes, workshops are from 3 to 5, a meet and greet from 5 to 6, and readings from 6 to 8. This is a free event. The doors open at 2, and Reverend Gaston's information and Nicole Wilkerson's information is there as well. Our next event is Gaston's Writers Workshop and Life Esteem Incorporated. It is also free to the public. It is sponsored also by Aetna Medicare Solutions, Heinz Mineker Senior Center at 1824 North 4th Street here in Harrisburg. And this is on April 24th from 10 to 1. There'll be scam awareness, bingo, Medicare, benefits, know your tools, learn how to save with electric and gas, door prizes, food refreshments, learn to coupon, nutrition tips, and much, much more. Again, for more information on that, you can reach out to Nathaniel Gadsden and or Nicole Wilkerson. So lots of things happening in Harrisburg. Lots of things happening in Harrisburg, and we are excited about it. And We hope to see each of you. Um, we hope to see each of you there. We hope to see you there, there, and there. You, and you. So it's National Poetry Month, and usually we share our own poetry, which I want to do. But I have one of my favorite poems that is not my own. Not saying that my poems are my only favorite poems, but one of my favorite poems that is not my own that I learned years ago and um, have always just remembered it. And anytime I hear it, I always want to share it with others. And so that is William Ernest Henley. It's called Invictus. It's Invictus by William Ernest Henley. First, I want to say hello to um, Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on. Send us a text, send us a comment, and let us know where you're joining us from. If you're a poet, tell us a little bit about yourself. And thank you for coming. So I was talking about Invictus by William Ernest Henley. And it says, out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. Yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate or charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. That is Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Just for years, I think I learned it back in Tuskegee, and it just has always been one of my favorites. Ranks up there, and maybe at some point tonight I'll have a chance to share some of the others and some of my favorites. Just, I guess, when you read, study, and write poetry, you have certain poets, I think, that um, stick with you, certain poets, certain things that stay with you. And from time to time, for me, it's helpful to go back and to share with others and to let others know that to let others know that what you read and what inspires you. And so that's just one of the ones that inspires me. And so I wanted to share that with you all as well. Why, hello, Neil. We have
Yeah, how you
Neil
doing,
Owens. How
Wendy?
are you?
Great,
I'm
great.
good. How are you?
Good, good. Praise God. How did everything go with the at the mall and all of that? It looked like it was a pretty fun event.
It was. In fact, thank you for asking. I plan to go back and do it again. Hopefully, it's something I can do at least once a month. It is. It was just really a good opportunity, to get our books out there. And my
Yeah.
my books, I had Reverend Gadsden's books and things like that. So the first mall I went to was in Camp Hill, which is close to Harrisburg, pretty much Harrisburg, Capital City Mall, and it's a smaller mall, not as much foot traffic, but still, it was really a good opportunity, very
Hmm.
positive. The second mall I went to was Park City Mall in Lancaster, much bigger mall, a lot more foot traffic, probably more than we thought once we were at, Capital City Mall. So the difference being that the mall in Lancaster has more staple stores, more anchor stores as they call them. So it was really a good opportunity. And so I'm looking forward to doing it again and looking forward to going to a few other malls and kind of getting around. And the lady that sets it up, she has several malls all around that she goes and sets it up. So it was a good opportunity. But thank you for asking. Really quick, I want to say hello to Daryl Moore in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. Hey, Daryl, thank you for joining. Jason A. Benefield, our one of the co-hosts, one of the three, co-host for Let's Talk About It, also right here on The Voice 17104. Jason says, great job with your performances. Thank you very much, Jason. Jason is in Los Angeles. So thank you, Daryl and Jason, for joining. Thank you all for joining. So Neil, how are things with you? What are you working on? What are you writing? How are things going?
Well, I've finished up my novel, The Rise and Fall of the Fourth Reich, and it's right now it's in the hands of the editor. And once that is finalized, I plan on releasing it in August. Yeah, that's
I know that's exciting.
yeah, that's a real interesting piece there for
I
sure.
Neil, everything you write is real interesting. I have yet to hear anything that has been remotely not interesting. So that Jason says the A is for always here. Jason A. Benefield, the A is for always here, and amazing. Thank you, Jason. So this novel, is this a part, Neil, is this a part of the series that you were working on a series? Is this one of the series?
No, this is a standalone piece. Um, and it's because I actually had the storyteller that I was planning on releasing last year, but I decided to hold off on that because of the political climate that we were in. I said, let me do this one first, because it's a very serious. The storyteller is a combination of a lot of different types of short stories and some fun stuff and some serious stuff and some non-serious stuff and some drama and all that. But this one is a much more serious piece, and it fits in exactly what's going on right now, and it kind of like sort of surprised you because it's like it's telling you of pieces that's coming that you some of the things that you remember, some of the younger people may not remember, but some of the older people remember some of the things that occurred in history and how it all is coming to play now.
Wow.
What you said, I mean, when you spoke on the Bellamy Salute and one of your pieces that you talked about, the poem. I
Yes.
mean, you don't realize that's a real big deal. I mean, that's how they did the Pledge of Allegiance in the school
Yes.
in this
Yes.
country.
That is it.
Okay, from
That's
1892 on up. He
it
even
was
continued after.
the
Right, that's
yeah,
right. That's right.
that's right. That's correct. That is absolutely correct. I shared that. I don't know where I maybe recently I shared that, but I think, and let's say hello to Ro Brady. Ro, thank you for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good to
It's
see you.
Honorary Road Dog,
Yes,
Wendy.
yes, right here in the house. I am sitting in for Nate this evening. And so once again,
Oh,
Nate's always juggling a million things. So I'm sitting in for Nate. But yes, it's your literary road dog. I'm right here. So
hey,
glad you can see.
Neil.
Good to see you.
You
Neil,
too.
Neil was talking about the climate and the piece that I did. It's called the 31 word lie. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
I
I
love
just did
that
it. I
piece.
just
Yeah.
did it there at Heart and Soul Bookstore. And I don't think that people understand um, then what happened then and the importance and how it affects and how it's still kind of happening now,
Uh-huh.
and where we are and the climate. And so Neil, I hope you don't mind, but I'll just go ahead and give a spoiler alert that everything Neil writes is something that's going to make you be like, well, what? You have to think it through. You just it's not like reading just a simple story that you just put it down. Afterwards, you're going to have to think about it. And it's whether it is there's been whether it's a relationship. There was, I've heard stories about people that were in a relationship, just different things that have different, at different times, different time periods. And so everything that I've heard has been thought provoking, sitting on the edge of your chair. I want to call him up and be like, okay, I need to know what really happened here. And so it has always been good to hear and see and read whatever it is that you wrote. So, Ro, what are you working on? What do you have going on? What's the climate in your writing world?
I just got back two of my covers.
Okay.
Yes, yes. I get the final edits back for my new poetry book. So
Okay.
will be, like you want to take your time, you want to put out a good product, but I'm pretty excited. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
What was the process of choosing your covers? What process do you use?
Well, I found a jewel at a high school. I have to start there. I am like, I know she's not watching this, but if anybody who knows Sammy Hess, my girl is a very talented young lady. And it was funny because I was looking for an original cover. And us indie authors have to do everything on a budget. You start like, okay, I'm going to do a new project. So you start putting those funds aside and you don't touch them, like,
Right.
oh, I want to buy. No, you got a project. No, can't buy that. Nope, not going to eat out. Nope, gonna, you know how we do. So
Absolutely.
I had started doing that and I kept saying, I am going to have a cover artist, but I couldn't find somebody that would do it within my budget. Like this is my budget. I
Sure.
can stand it. So I just happened to be talking to one of the art teachers that I knew from my high school. And because there's some hidden talents in high school art rooms, there really are some
Yes.
amazing young artists. And we kept going back and forth. He said, yeah, I got a couple of my AP art students who like will be amazing at doing this, but there was no follow-up. There was no follow-through. And after a while, I was like, this is not going to pan out. So I let it go. And I just happened to get into a conversation with the school secretary in Middletown. And she said to me, she said, hey, Ro, what are you writing now? And I started telling her about a new poetry book. And I said, I'm looking for a cover artist. And she said, you should reach out to our art teacher. I'm like, yeah. And the art teacher there is just he's such a cool looking guy. You could just tell he does art. And he's a professional artist. He's a professional graphic artist. And I said to him, do you have any students who you think could, and I threw the idea out to him. And he was like, yeah,
Mhm.
hook me up with this young lady, Sammy Hess. And I
Wow.
absolutely love my covers. I can't do a cover reveal because we're not
Sure.
ready yet, but the
Okay.
cover, I'm saying they're just fire.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. I did something similar and I'm doing the same thing for my novel. And I've been speaking to the artist that is going to do my novel, but my cover,
I
Clouds
love,
Before
I've
Fire and
always
Smoke
loved that
Before
cover.
Rain. It's her name is Lovey Price, and she lives in York, and she also is a poet. And I just happened to be at an event in York. I think they called it the Creative Collective or something in York. And I saw some of her work and I heard her poetry. And I said, I'm wondering, I'm curious, could you do? And so I sent her the poem, Clouds Before Fire and Smoke Before Rain. And she sent me the mock-up of this. And then I said, I love it, the colors, and so I told her, these are the colors I want. And this was what came up, and that's Lovey Price out of York. So I have another artist that I'm working with that will be doing the cover for the novel. And I'd like to continue doing that, because I think it does something for the artist as well as, it's an original. And so I also own I own the art, I own it.
Yeah, so that's what I was so excited about. I wanted to give, wait a minute, I'm trying to take off my background so I could give our friend that we met, Ashley Nicole Wakawak. I think I'm pronouncing her name. Like I
Yes.
wanted to show her book. She's an amazing
Yes.
poet too. Like, and I
Yes.
loved her,
Yes.
and I meant to ask her what the significance of the, I think that is grapefruit. It looks like grapefruit.
It does. It does
Yeah,
look like grapefruit. Yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully we'll have a chance. And we'll go back to that. But Neil, what about you? How do you choose your book covers?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to speak. I mean, it depends. I have some ideas sometimes and go with it. Um, the biggest challenge for me is this particular cover for this particular book. I mean, I'm really trying to decide how I want to do that,
Okay.
and I haven't decided if I want to go get a professional or not. I usually have the guy who does my editing also does some work on as far as my covers, and I decide if I like it and I mix it and mingle whatever.
Okay.
Like this particular cover for the Rise and Fall of the Fourth Reich, I haven't decided how I'm going to approach that yet.
Okay. I'm
Mhm.
excited to see. I know that we have some videos. And then Minister Chris, are we ready for a video? And then Ro, when we come back, I want to talk about our event that we had. And then let's share some poetry. It's National Poetry Month, so I think we should share some poetry. Neil, we'd like to hear from you as well. So, Minister Chris, if there is a video ready, we are ready.
My hero doesn't need an introduction, and he doesn't need a cape or mask to cover. Because of him, I didn't have to suffer for what I've done. I should be punished, spit out for not sitting well in his stomach, lukewarm. But instead of being spewed out, he swooped down. Did more than leap tall buildings in a single bound. He saw my SOS from the shores of my heart. Told me I was never abandoned. By my side, he was always standing, even though I wasn't fully planted in him, see. A hero never stops saving. And I'm a witness to that every day. And in this very moment, I can say that I am saved with no hesitation. I know that Satan, the Lex Luthor of the supers, wants to manipulate, and in our minds, he wants to rule us, but none can ever measure up to the big ruler who sits high, looks low, like he in a school bus, Jesus. The kind of strength you can't find up in a gym, and he gave us fruit to the spirit to help us remain thin. I ain't there yet. I used to think that God had enough on his plate, so no time for me. Really, when I was distant, all he wanted was some time with me. And honestly, I was too blind to see, but my hero helped the blind to see. And some may think that that's lame, but he healed them too. Them lames with the handicap stickers on the bottom of their shoes, he healed you. See, what's great about my hero is he became a zero. Nothing. The lowest, but at the same time, the greatest. Though he was royalty, he was never high maintenance. He said, I am who you say I am, the reason I am in amazement. He wasn't really attractive with a Superman curl, but he still kept them attracted by his love for this world. Need proof? John 3:16, perfect demonstration. So deposit your hearts, and my hero will do the saving.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Um, any thoughts on that? Any comments?
I was trying to figure out where he was in the background. It was a unique background.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that added to it. I
Yeah.
really do. I think sometimes it adds to it as well. So that was wonderful. Minister Chris always comes up with the gym. So Ro, we had an opportunity to once again share the mic at Heart and Soul Bookstore. Um, let's talk a minute about that. How did you find it? What'd you think?
It's such a quaint little place, and Ashley is a dear. I really enjoyed it. It was an intimate little crowd. And funny thing is, Wendy, I ran into Debbie, who was one of the people that came to hear us in the
Okay,
supermarket today. And she
okay,
just gave us all such good feedback. She said she loved us
okay,
all. Definitely is going to look for our stuff, all of our stuff.
good,
So that was great that,
good.
we're doing our thing. But I think, I'm all on board for supporting Ashley in this bookstore because she is really trying to get herself out there as one of the Black-owned businesses, and particularly bookstores here
Absolutely,
in Harrisburg. Yeah. So um
absolutely.
I'm excited for, like she's already expanded since, I didn't even know it was there. And I'm seeing her beginning to expand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it too. I love the space. So this is Heart and Soul Bookstore. It's on Lingelstown Road, right there, Pat, right there at the Lingelstown and Mountain Road roundabout. There is parking in the back, but it is such a quaint um space. But if you ever walk into a place and just feel at home. I mean, I think the only time I can really think about that is like going home, going down south, going to, Big Mama's house. Or, just that feeling where you're somewhere maybe you've been before where it's peaceful, it's serene, it is, just all of those things. And there are little nooks and little places and spaces there that are just just an invitation for creativity or whatever, wherever it is. And she has upstairs, she has the activity room and a wall of stars. And she also has, which I think is really unique, she has a tattoo artist and a photographer there. So you can go read a good book, get a tattoo, and then take a picture afterwards. I don't know where else you can do that. So,
And have a cup of tea.
and have a cup of tea. And she always has tea and coffee as well. And you can also find my books. I believe Rose books are there, Maria James Chow, and so other local artists, authors, and poets. You can find us all there as well. And at any given time, you can find us there doing poetry, poetry workshops, and different types of workshops. So yes, I'm really super duper excited about that. So let's speaking of poetry and writing, because that is what we do. We are Nathaniel Gadsden's Writers Workshop. So let's share. Is everyone prepared to share? Is everybody sharing tonight? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. All right. Um, I think I am. I'm gonna go through. Ro, are you ready? Do you have yours out already?
Sure, I got a couple.
Okay. Well, kick us off. Neil has me thinking 31 word lie again. And so I have to see.
Well, it being National Poetry Month, I think I'll do an ode. See if you
Okay.
recognize in there. I love the Black Renaissance writers. Maya Angelou, Nikki Giovanni, Ntozake Shange. So I've mentioned all of these. See if you can pick them out in the midst of this poem. It's called an ode. When Ntozake told us it was enough, I fell down in love. I too am a regular colored girl who loves words. They beat inside my mouth like the sting of bees buzzing full of word honey. My father was no magician. He couldn't keep things under his hat, like the passionate love he had for my mother. She was a brown woman who had full hips, lips, and legs. She never stored her silk roses by her bed. Instead, she wore them tucked behind her left ear, essence of Billy. I became afraid you might leave, like when Audrey spoke her words in a litany for survival. I stood on the shoreline, wondering if I would survive the rough edges of my decisions that keeps my heart fully awake, beating at dawn. I thought I was fully conscious of my surroundings, but maybe I too was ego tripping, just like Nikki. I did give birth and the pains did flow, and some say I am a beautiful woman. My nails are usually broken and chipped from digging deep into the bowels of my wealth. Dr. Angelou walked into the room and they all whispered, "Phenomenal woman." I stand still listening to the applause. I'm not as cool as can be. I fall on one knee and beat away the honeybees of wannabe like this phenomenal woman. I hear their words beating in the pulse of my ears. I give you this ode to a few good women wordsmiths whose words linger on my tongue and make a ring around my lips like sweet chocolate word milk. So there's a lot of their poems mixed in with my poems.
I love that. I love that. And that's probably my favorite time period, as you talked about it. And Ntozake Shange is, well, my absolute favorite book outside of the Bible, is for colored girls who've considered suicide when the rainbow isn't enough. And I've shared this many times, but my grandmother allowed me to read it and she took me to the play when my mother said that I was too young to go. Now, as an adult, of course, I understand why my mom said that I was too young to go. However, I didn't see it that way. I didn't see it that way. But my grandmother and I would read that book, and she would write little things in the, like in the margins, and then give it back to me. And so I would read it looking for her notes, looking for her comments. And she did that with, and that's sort of what got me into a lot of the classics, that, and not only poetry, but a lot of the classic writers, from all genres. And so I'm forever grateful for that. But for colored girls who've considered suicide when the rainbow isn't enough is my favorite. And of that, it's, for those that don't know, it's a choreo poem. And of that, I want to say, one of my, it's so many, but Toussaint Louverture and sorry. When she says sorry, you want to tell me sorry.
Too, yeah.
What I don't need is another sorry.
Sorry.
So that is or no, somebody almost walked off with all of my stuff. I think I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you read Cypress, or what's it, Sassafras, Cypress and Indigo?
Sassafras and Indigo, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's another one of my favorites of her. Yeah.
Yes. So when I have an author that I like, I want all of their books.
Oh,
I want all of their books, and I prefer to have them because I collect books. So I would prefer to have them in hardcover, but you can't always find them in hardback. So, but yes, and I've read and I will read all of theirs, all of their works. So
I have
yes.
an autographed copy of Sula.
Okay, wow.
Yes,
wow.
yes. I remember standing in line, and I want to say I was a junior in college and coming back home to Pittsburgh. And Wilson was at the Civic Light Opera, which no longer exists in Pittsburgh. And she had just given a talk, and there were only a certain amount of people that were permitted to come in. Once it sold out, it sold out. But she had a huge stack of books that she had pre-autographed. And we stood in line forever to get these pre-autographed copies of her book, Shula.
Oh my goodness.
Like my friends were not as diehard Toni Morrisons as I was. And they were all like after 15 minutes. They were like, I'm tired of standing in this line. I'm like, we're almost at the head of the line. I'm gonna get this book. And they're like, we're nowhere
Wow.
near the head of the line. I'm like, but I'm staying. I'm staying. And I stood in that line. I had one friend who was like, okay, I'm gonna stay with her. And they all left. And then when I got the book, they were like, we should have stayed. We had a book
We should
too.
have stayed. Right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I remember
So,
seeing her in Dr. Angelou.
yes.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What do you think? And, Taft and I talk about this quite often because I think anywho, what do you think about when they take those books and make a movie out of them?
I don't know. I'm a book person. So I like I would rather read the book than the movie because you get so much more out of the book. And I like to
Absolutely.
imagine the characters the way that I like to imagine them.
Absolutely.
Now, I remember Beloved when they
That's
made
where I
Beloved.
was going with this.
Yes, when they made Beloved the movie. And
Yes.
Beloved is one of those books because Tony. Tony is one of those like you got to really slow down. You got to be in a Tony mood to read.
Yes.
Like for years, I have read Paradise like over and over again and still don't get it. Just don't get it. But
Yes.
Beloved was one of those books where I pictured the characters the way I wanted to picture them. And then when I
Right.
saw it as a movie, it kind of like, it's not what I was
Yeah.
picturing. Yeah, you
Yes.
know.
I think it's particularly for Beloved. I really think that I think she took too many
Creative liberty.
creative liberties, and I struggle with that.
Uh-huh.
I struggle with the whole concept of creative liberties. And I also think that the same thing for Colored Girls. And I think the only reason that for Colored Girls got any of what it did was because Janet Jackson was in it.
Yeah, that's
And I'll
true.
just go ahead and say I don't think that she was all that good in it, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's
I
just
there's
my
been
personal opinion.
there's been a couple of movies, and I can't even think of some of them off my head. Like if we really want to go back. Remember Roots? Now, Roots
Yes.
was one movie that I thought lived up to the book.
Yes.
I
Well,
really
I think
did.
Queen. Queen was my favorite of that
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that series, and the one that I think did the best as far as the book was
Mm.
concerned. I think Queen. I don't know that I think I don't know that I think any of the other ones. Now, not at all related, but William Paul Young that wrote The Shack. I
Oh, yeah.
believe that I believe that he writes specifically for a movie.
Uh-huh.
So it's
Yeah.
not far off. However, when we talk about taking a book and creative liberties, he wrote Eve, and it's the story of Adam and Eve.
Yeah, if I
And
read
I
both.
feel like he took a lot of creative liberties there, and I struggle with that. Not because I don't feel like I struggle like as far as my faith is concerned, but my struggle, like, and I hate to tell the story, but one of my struggles is in the book, Adam shows up as a baby. And I guess I figure Adam must, was maybe didn't he have to be a baby at one point? But we never talk about Adam as a baby as Christians or out of the Bible. Adam just showed up. Do you know what I mean? And then he talks about this conversation between Adam and God. And so it had me like, I was back at my Bible, like, wait a minute. I don't, and it was an excellent book. I loved the book.
Yeah.
I just felt like creative liberties. And I'm like, is that okay? Can you do that?
Now, wait a minute. Now, if you really, really want to talk about creative liberties, I just watched with my husband the other night the Book of Clarence.
Oh my goodness. We watched it Taft and I watched it on Easter. And I've been like wanting someone, Nate's gonna kill me. I have been wanting someone to talk about that. Did you like it? Is it like a thumbs up, thumbs down? What'd you think?
I like this. You can't see my thumb, but
Really? Yes.
it's sideways, like
Just
like
sideways.
it's just sideways because I kept thinking of the stories in the Bible that I have pictured,
Yes.
and I picture like I do not picture Jesus as the white man with the long brown hair and the beard. That's just
Right.
not my
Sure.
picture of Jesus.
Sure.
Like, no one has ever seen
Yes.
in our time Jesus, right?
Sure. That's right.
So I picture him the way I picture Jesus, and
Yes.
so watching the Book of Clarence, the part where like my thumb is not down was because it
Yes.
gave me a lot of the visuals of how I pictured those biblical towns. I was like, yeah, people
Sure.
like that part I really enjoyed, but
Okay.
it was so much, like, okay, we're deriving this because we are talking about Jesus in this movie.
Yes.
And it was like,
Yes.
where are we going with this? Like I would want to
Wow.
say it verged on, like, I don't know, what's the word that when you take the Bible totally out of context and you just do what you want to do with it? Would it?
Blasphemy?
Yes, I would say it verged on that, but it was like, wait a minute, y'all. I kept waiting because I had to watch the beginning over because I missed the first 15 minutes and my husband started watching.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, wait a minute, like who's playing Jesus in this? And when it first came
So
on,
Neil, have you seen this?
yes.
Yeah, I saw it.
But didn't you
Okay,
feel like a bit of like you've taken way too many creative liberties and bringing Jesus in this?
I'm waiting to hear what Neil
Yes,
has
that's what
to
I
say.
thought. I was like, you gone way
Yes.
off the boat with that.
What do you think, Neil? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Or are you with Ro? Where are you with that?
I'm not all the way up with the thumbs up. There was a lot of, I mean, that movie was not for everybody. Let's just say that.
Agreed.
It
Agreed.
definitely wasn't for everybody. I
Agreed.
could relate to a lot of things. Some of it was funny. I mean, I could relate to some of the things. I mean, like, wow. I mean, the way he tried to approach it with the weed and all of that stuff and
Yes.
all of that. But I like the fact that they dealt with the Israelites as they truly are, or they
Right.
truly were, even are. I ain't gonna just say were past, because even present.
Okay.
I like the way they addressed that. I mean, that was all
Sure.
good and real. I mean, and then the
Mhm.
situation with the guy Clarence, and like he just trying to make money. A lot of ministers in church do the same thing right now. I mean, that's what I relate to. I said, yeah, they doing the same thing, trying to make some money. All the word pretending. So he exposed a lot of that
Absolutely.
too. But it was just one of those kind of, especially with the getting the high and the floating and all that, yeah, all this
Yes.
acid
Yes.
and all that. It was like that was
Yeah, that was a bit. That was a
yeah,
bit
that
out.
was a bit.
What they
That
did
was a
with the
bit.
sacrament of crucifixion. That was the part was like, like the sacrament of crucifixion was like they're crucifying, like, and then I don't know. That was the part that kind of got me like, y'all kind of went off deep for that one.
But don't you think, and we can bring it to, to what we do, don't you think that that like what they did in this conversation is exactly what we do as writers? I mean, even though I don't know that any of us have written based on something like that, but I know that Neil writes about, things that have happened historically, politically, and the climate, social climate, and he puts it in a story. And even when, the story seems extremely, like a fictitious story, when you think about it, it's really a true story. Like, it's just the people are, the people are people that he's created, but I don't mean to act like you're crazy. I mean, like, people, I didn't mean it that way. But, Ro, the same thing. You write about a period of time and things that happened, and you bring us into that period. And, and I think of some of the things that you write about that take me right to my cousins and my aunts, and I try to write the same way. So I think, don't you think that they were successful in writing and producing something that made us think that,
Yeah, it definitely made you think.
I don't want my writing to make someone uncomfortable, but I certainly I wanted to, awaken a sense, or do something.
No, it
It
was
I
definitely made
watched
you
it
think.
twice. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I
say that again.
it
It
never made
definitely
me
made you think.
uncomfortable. Yeah, it
Yes.
did definitely
It
made
definitely
you.
made you think.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things in there that may have looked like it was off the cup, but it could have been like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that although I struggled there for a minute because I was like, um, he he is fine. But I was like, wait a minute, can you say that? Like Clarence or Clarence? I was like, can you say that? Is that okay? And then like, times when I laugh, Taft and Taft is definitely a Bible scholar. Taft loves to read the Bible and he knows. So he was finishing some of the scriptures and saying what scripture it was in
Mhm.
reference to. But probably my favorite part of the movie was the baptism, simply because I know, having lived in Nigeria, I know Nigerians that sound just like that. I was like, oh my goodness, I know this person, and so there were so many parts to it, but it was also a tearjerker, which for me is a mark of a good book, a good movie. If it will make me cry or make me laugh out loud or have me go back and reread it because I want to feel that again, then to me that is an excellent story. Let's say hello to Reverend Dr. Nathaniel Denzel Gadsden, who says stop talking about how fine I am. Minister Chris, just cut that part out. The same way you edit our podcast, just cut that part out altogether. But absolutely, absolutely. Um, I I'm I want more people. I really want more people, and I'm curious as to, same thing with Eve. I always want to hear how people think, and when someone says they read it or they saw it, I'm like, really, what'd you think? What'd you think? So I think though that was whether thumbs up, thumbs down, or
Cinematography.
halfway over. I'm glad people watched it.
I was going to say the cinematography was really, really great in that movie. I loved it. It did
Absolutely,
take me to like feeling like the biblical times.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, and I think we may be shortly. I think we'll share another piece, and we may be at time for our second video. I want to try to keep as close to Nate's format as possible, though I realize that we've already blown that. So we'll make sure that we get back on track, so that I don't get fired again, I'm not suspended from hosting the Writers Wordshop again. Um, it happens. It happens. So, of your books, really quick, of your books or of your poems or anything, would you want one to be a movie, and which one?
I would. Scarred.
Scarred? Okay, okay, okay. Neil, what about yourself?
Um, Mirrors of Life,
Okay,
that one,
okay,
and definitely the one that I'm going to release in August. Rise
okay.
and
The one
Fall of
that
the
you just
Fourth Reich.
finished.
Yeah, Rise
Yes.
and Fall of the Fourth Reich.
Okay. I would certainly. I think I would want to go um, with my poetry, just because I think it tells different stories at different times, and I think that I would love to see it become a choreo poem, just made for the big screen. Um, so sometimes you just got to put things out in the universe, to make it happen. To make it happen. So let's share a little bit. I will, since we brought it up, I guess I will go with the 31 word lie. And as always, I always say before I do it is that this does not reflect the opinion of uh, the um, the sponsors or the station or Nathaniel Gadsden, these are my own personal opinions. And as such, I am sharing my own personal opinion. And this one is the 31 word lie. The 31 word lie. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A 31-word fabrication written in 1892 by social minister Francis Bellamy. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies. I've always wanted to be patriotic. I've always wanted that pride-swelling experience when the flags are raised or carried by as people place their hands over their hearts. The original flag salute was to extend your hand toward the flag, palm down.
Right.
In World War II, concerned that this salute resembled the Nazis, it was changed to what is used today. But that wasn't all that resembled what the Nazis did. And so, somewhere between raising a hand to a symbol of misogyny and oppression and placing my hand over my heart, I raised my fist tightly clenched to symbolize a grip on the truth and an unwillingness to accept the lie. I pledge allegiance to truth and righteousness. In a classroom in anywhere USA where the books refuse to tell the truth about 2/3 of a population by omission in a process of elimination, these students don't hear about the great passage of their ancestors. And I want to be proud. I want to be a proud American like Chevy and apple pie, but I wasn't included in the Constitution. And though Whitney Houston made it sound good, verse 1 is just a cover, and verse 3 tells of a 40-word truth. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave, or the land of the free and the home of the brave. Why do we only sing verse 1 of a 4-verse national anthem? Oh, say, does such a banner of freedom yet wave? Those same students in my town, USA, are tested with an across-the-line standardized test in the 4th grade to provide statistics to the Department of Criminal Justice, predicting and anticipating residents for the belly of the beast before they even reach puberty. But those same numbers don't get books or better schools, so a high standard test is given in low standard schools where the administration has a deficit in cultural diversity, and there are underpaid teachers who don't even know the difference between the action verb of my mama be gone and the definitive statement of my daddy is gone. And I want to be patriotic. I want to say that when my country fights for the freedom of the masses, I'm included. You see, they swept racism under the rug and hid discrimination in the shed where they carefully hid the whites only signs. They forgot to cancel bigotry and instead gave it a position with authority, a gun and a gavel. And now we carry Black Lives Matter signs in a nation that's supposed to have justice for all. So I place my hand over my heart because self-preservation is survival's first law. In 1893, Catherine Bates petitioned God to shed his grace on thee. She continued, till nobler men keep once again thy whiter jubilee. I want to believe that though I was included in the huddled masses that reached the shores from sea to shining sea, that the great American dream includes even me, soldiers fighting to the death for an indivisible nation that intentionally sacrificed their brown-skinned soldiers to confuse their darker colored enemies. Our men departed for a purpose and a cause to return as broken souls, their bodies mangled and their minds marred, only to find that the dream of returning home as heroes was replaced with the consolation prize of second-class citizenship, and their bodies bound with melanoma and disease. We should all have PTSD. And why do so many Vietnam vets have colon cancer or some other form of malignant carcinoma? Perhaps Miss Evers' boys weren't America's only human lab rats. I want to say I'm proud to be an American, but America isn't proud to have me. Our fellow compatriots called us refugees in Katrina and FEMA, or the Federal Encouragement of Missions or Matters Abroad, thought that a $2,000 gift card and a metal shipping container as a home could replace the losses of an entire region, while they stood by as we watched our families being torn apart for the umpteenth time in American history. The levees of equality have been compromised, breached, and are broken. And I'll snap from myself because I know I'm telling the truth. I want to be patriotic instead of an orphan bereft of a nationality. I came as a slave, then a Negro, colored, Black, and Afro and African American. Only two countries in the world characterize their citizens by the color of their skin. One can now boast an end to apartheid, and America won't even admit that apartheid would be the sniffles compared to the racism and partial hate that has plagued her land. America has bastardized a whole race of people who have built this sweet land of liberty with their bare hands and have sacrificed life and limb just to be accepted or at least not excluded. The lie speaks for itself, and the truth, well, the truth will set this country free. You can't be under God until you are truly indivisible, and it's not liberty or justice if it's not for all. America, just mean what you say or say what you mean. Until then, I'll be watching your every move, questioning your every proclamation, and pointing out your deceptions and misrepresentations, holding up my fist as a sign of my allegiance to what's fair and right and my refusal to accept anything less. And until you get it right, I'll just be a proud Americanized African. 31 words.
Yeah. You know, a lot of enough people. I mean, at the time, Katrina, when they was calling them refugees, I'm like, and nobody seemed to be saying anything about. I'm talking about Black people. You know, no one seemed to have been saying anything about it. You know, and that's what they were saying on the media. And this wasn't Fox News. This was CNN and all that. You know what I mean? They were calling them refugees.
They were Black people that lived there, not even Black people that came from somewhere
That's
else
right. That
for
lived there.
shelter.
They were
They
American
lived
citizens.
right there.
Right.
Absolutely.
And they was calling them refugees. I was like, what the hell are these people talking about?
Yeah,
Refugees.
absolutely.
That's the mindset. I
Absolutely.
mean, that's exactly how they saw us. I mean, it just came out. And I thank God for revealing that information for us to recognize, but a lot of us didn't recognize it. A lot of us
Absolutely.
don't pay attention to things. A lot of us don't
It's a quick
hear.
slip of the tongue. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they
It's
don't.
it's
Oh man.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then had that have not been brought up, they would have had a refugee relief fund, and you go sign up to this refugee relief fund, even though that was your house, you live there.
Right.
Next thing you know, now you have to prove that you're not a refugee.
Right.
And so
That's right.
it was, I don't remember who it was, but someone was, I think it was Oprah or something, was like, wait a minute, these aren't refugees. They're home. And so those were kind of the things that
You know, it's
that I
just
read
like
about.
now there's a lot of and I've run into it, and I know they've been talking about the polls, but I've actually I didn't believe those polls. They were talking about how many Black people were starting to support Trump. But I've actually spoken to Black people who are in the Trump camp that's going towards the Trump camp. And a lot of these are young Black people, not old Black, but young Black people. I mean, they're actually
Absolutely.
going to the Trump camp. I mean, they actually thinking that, you know, that Biden is a racist. I mean, Biden is a racist. Um, I mean, it's like, okay, well, they're getting this information somewhere, I guess off of social media, whatever they listening to, or whatever, whoever these people are,
Absolutely.
that's putting this stuff into their head.
I try as much as possible. And I know people like that. I've come across people, and recently, I've come across people like that. And I try as much as possible to give people space to believe what you want to believe. I have my beliefs, and I realize that they do, but all we can really do is try to give them the facts, try to share the facts, try to, not steer anyone, but look, these 1 + 1 = 2. Like there are certain things that will always be correct, no matter what side of the line you're on. There are just certain things that will be correct. And I think it's really important that, and even with what we do here, what we do um, in this venue, is to put the facts out there, put it out there. And somehow we tend to put it out there in our writing. We put it out there, and we do have a space where we can express ourselves, but we also, want to be able to teach people. And I think that that's something all three of us have endeavored to do by, through our work, through our writing. I wanted to say how I felt, about the Pledge of Allegiance, but I also wanted to put the dates out there, put the facts out there. I didn't make that up. My opinion, the poem is laced with my opinion, but the facts, the facts. That's what they said, you know.
I
That's
mean, you
that's what
placed
they
with
said,
opinion, but it's also opinion based off of a lot of facts. Okay. So
and
I
that's
mean, there's a
exactly
lot of
what.
facts
Yes,
in what you said, not just throwing something out there. I mean, these were some facts, and
absolutely,
you can draw conclusions, but those are facts, and
Well,
that's
absolutely.
what we need to
as a
deal with, man. I mean, that's just very, very powerful stuff.
I was gonna say, as a person who had to make a group of kids, uh, for years, stand up every morning and say the pledge, you know. Now there's a whole new generation of, like they still say it in schools, of course.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they do. But the thing about it is it has lost its, like before we were told that we had to make our class stand up and say the pledge. And now it's like there's kids who are like, they don't stand. And I feel like I'm not making nobody stand up and say the pledge. Sometimes like, and then there were schools where like if you were caught in the hallway walking, you were supposed to stop. I've seen principals just keep walking, and particularly our principals who have
Sure.
kept walking. So I think the
Hmm.
vernacular of that has taken some change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
It
think.
was a major problem growing up for me, because we were very young. I think I was like maybe in the third grade, second or third grade, when my parents said that we don't stand, and the school did not like that, and we did not. Um, and I, now we were the only, most times we were the only Black family in the school, that we were in, which meant because my sisters are 6 years older, my brother's 7 years younger, we were never in the same school. So I'm the sore thumb. I'm the only kid in the school that does not stand up. So I don't know if they knew what it meant, and I don't know if I fully understood, but I knew what my parents told me.
Mhm.
I knew what they told me, and I knew that I didn't want to do that either.
Mhm.
I didn't
Yeah,
want to do that
that,
either.
like it's when I was a contracted teacher, there were kids in my classroom that did, you know, I had
Hmm.
a problem with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and then, principals who were very militant about that come in and like tell the kids
hmm,
to stand up and
right,
them have attitude and, having a principal say, you need to work on your kids with standing up. And I would just
sure,
look at them like, because I knew that same,
absolutely,
every time I hear that poem, it takes me back to those classroom
mhm,
days. So thank you.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. Neal, did you want to share something? And then we will maybe go to a video. I believe we have three more videos left if we're still using four video format. So I think we've got three more left. You're on mute.
I'll read a page
Okay,
um, from the Rise and Fall of the Fourth Reich.
okay.
This is day 57 of a coup that has taken place in America. The eyes and ears of the world were on the president as he addressed the nation from an undisclosed location. Inside the 20,000-seat venue was a capacity-filled audience of enthusiasts. A popular male singer sung the national anthem, and a popular female singer sung America the Beautiful. The president received a standing ovation that exceeded a minute when he stepped onto the stage. He turned and faced the row of American flags behind him. and in unison with the audience, recited the Pledge of Allegiance with the Bellamy salute. He faced the audience with a smile and gestured to be seated, then said, "My fellow American patriots of the Fourth Reich, in preparing the new Declaration of Independence, we will not repeat the failures of the past that allowed our blood to be poisoned and our purity stained. I am therefore avoiding the citizenship of all non-Aryan, Blacks, Latinos, Asians, Indians, and the biracial have 30 days to leave the country or face arrest and deportation." The audience stood, cheered, and applauded. The president continued, the exempt includes active military, militia, law enforcement, professional athletes, and others that will be notified. But there is no exemption for biracial couples and children. All are forbidden. There is no exemption for singers, rappers, actors, musicians, and other artists and entertainers. But the Arab Americans are among the exempt. Homosexuals, the handicapped, and the retarded are not allowed in the states or territories of the Fourth Reich. Jews are not allowed on the face of the earth. The audience again stood, applauded, and cheered. The president continued, "This is the new America, the Fourth Reich, the Pilgrim's Pride, the Puritan religion, white power." Applause and cheers were loud and rambunctious. Stop there. You're on mute.
So wow, that was beautiful. I see the similarities, and I see. I think that's another one of those intriguing things where you hear, and again, laced in truth, dripping truth, and though some may say, well, that's his opinion. I think it's one of those things where people need to see or need to hear, or need to read that. I think that's wonderful. Ro, any comments before we go?
Oh, I was just saying we had a running theme about our thoughts about the pledge.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes I feel like my poetry makes me seem like an angry person. And I promise I'm not. I promise I'm not. But even as I was going through, and going through my mind to think, what will I do next? Those things that pop up. But I think that we feed, as we talked about last week, Ro, we feed off of each other. When you have artists and authors, poets in a group together, the theme sort of picks itself. One person says one thing, and the next thing that's the theme, and that's it happens organically, and that's the beauty of what we do on the Writers Workshop. Minister Chris, are you ready for another video, or do you want us to keep going? Man, that Minister Chris is something else.
All I've ever wanted to be is a superhero. I would sport a cape and mask, wear underwear over my tights, fly across the sky, dwell amongst the clouds, and hover over the crowds of people trying to figure out whether I'm a bird or a plane. I would catch every bad guy, bullet, flying missile, every falling citizen, debris of every collapsing building, malfunctioning plane, and every runaway train. With the same hands I'm still too afraid to touch bugs with. I'd protect every location, from this country's richest communities to the ghettos of the third worlds, rescuing damsels in distress. Imagine me, a superhero. Can't you just picture it? But what's super about collapsing after failing to reach 20 push-ups, or only being able to bench press something around over 50 pounds? And that's only if I try hard to do it once or twice when the cute girls were near me. Or what's heroic about not having enough guts to squish a spider that probably ran away faster than I did? See, I'm far from heroic. And the closest I've come to super was receiving super stickers on assignments I did well in from my first grade teacher. I haven't done too well in school since. Who am I kidding? Who am I trying so desperately to deceive? I'm no superhero. I possess no powers whatsoever, nor the money or vast knowledge to make gadgets that would make up for my lack of mutant ability. My head in the sky is the closest I'll ever get to flying. All I have is this voice, this breath, this product of my lungs, this breath, which I'm told in the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, is God's. Inside of us lies hope. The same type of hope that angers fear. The same type of hope that decides the victory between heroes and villains and decides the line between heroes and civilians. This God's breath will bring life to the dying and be life for the dead. We have to start somewhere. Why not here? We have to start sometime. Why not now? Here and now, we must be heroes. And not the heroes of the comic books, but the heroes out of the Bible's books. Moses, he rose and with a staff led the Hebrews out of Egypt. David, he rose and with a sling and a rock of faith left Goliath defeated. Mary, she rose and raised Jesus. Jesus, he rose. He rose and put death in its place, placing the grave in the grave under a tombstone that reads, "O death, where art thou sting? O hell, where art thou victory?" Ha! Death no longer has any authority over us. The apostles, the saints, Martin Luther King Jr., Blessed Mother Teresa, Blessed John Paul II, a bunch of people who rose and gave rise to the saving power we all hold inside of us. A bunch of heroes and sheroes like he who rose, rising to the occasion our Savior has called us to. The same Savior in John 14 who proclaimed that we would go on to do greater deeds than he. But I know what you're thinking. But I'm just one man and she's just one woman and we're all just some people somewhere in some room. But it's time we stop being just some people and start being some just people. Our breaths are wrecking balls, knocking down the walls of every heart. Our breaths are keys. Keys made to free every heart from its prison and shackles and can tie up the beasts of hell like lassos. With faith as our armor, love as our capes, hope in our helmets, and God in our breaths. We are the Avengers, Justice League, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles we've always wanted to be for this world. But we can do it better. We can be real. We can exist, and so can love. The world deserves better. And I made a promise that one day, I'd be that better that the world deserves. And as one man, I know I can make a difference. But as a group of people, we can change the world. So my heroes, my sheroes, let this be the moment that we rose. Now stand and rise.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, that was.
Any thoughts? Any thoughts?
Yeah, that was well, it's a couple things. One, first thing is that he came out, he was on stage and there was nobody there. So it was like he was speaking, nobody was there. Was anybody actually listening? But he started out with just him, and then he went into we as he ended. He brought everybody into it with him. I mean, wow, he exposed his weakness. I mean, it was really good. I mean, it's really good.
Excellent observation. Bro, anything?
Yeah, I didn't know he was gonna, get really into like his faith. I like how he segued into that because I was thinking that it was gonna go off in a totally different direction. It was good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wrote down, he said that we're just some people. Instead of being just some people, let's be some just people. I really like that line. And then I saw the same thing, Neil, that he came out just by himself, and it seemed and I like that it sort of, I guess his word, crescendoed it. It got bigger, and he became more animated with it. But his shirt said, I will spark a brain that will change the world. And I just I really like that. Thank you, Minister Chris, for sharing that. So let's keep going. Anybody else ready to share something else?
Yeah,
Bro,
I
you
got
ready?
I am.
I got a new.
Okay, I'm sorry, Dr. Snowden, Dan Snowden. Hey, welcome. Long time no see. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm standing in for Nate Gadsden tonight, and I'm sorry I didn't see you there. So let's hear from Dan.
All right. Here's one called the sharing experience. The chance to be creative. That's something everyone wishes. One can just pick a topic and begin with his or her own dishes. All parties gather around to share anything that they know. Most any subject is fair game, depending upon how things go. Relationships, love or gender, civil rights, animals or diseases. Any individual may carry one's weight with any of the subjects one pleases. We can all express ourselves either solely or with expedience. It takes full understanding and respect to perform the sharing experience.
Is that one of your newer pieces?
No, actually, this is one that I wrote. It was a while ago. It was back when the Writers' Wordshop was actually meeting in when it was on Cumberland Street. Actually, that's when I wrote it.
Okay. Wow, congratulations. Love it. Love it.
Oh, thank you. Glad to do.
Yes, absolutely. Ms. Rowe?
Yeah, sometimes high school students can be so inspiring. You know how I like to eavesdrop. Well, there was a romance that was coming to a horrible crash. So, I kind of had to write about it.
Oh my.
It's called Reservoir, the place that manages the risk of emotional flooding.
Right.
Couldn't you just hold on to your own thoughts just a moment longer? I needed some time to keep the fear from blossoming into a colossal bush of unrealistic, anxiety-filled, overly dramatic terror. I was longing and looking for a moment when your arms would reach out to me and pull me in tightly, rapturing me with affirmations of, it's going to be just fine. You have nothing to fear. But they never did come. Instead, I stood up from my newly diagnosed gnosis of pain and rejection to languish you and all the comforts that your heart craved. Now. Were all your needs met? Had all your emotional insecurities been neatly tied down and anchored in a heavy dose of compassion? Was there time given for tucking you snugly into the notion of there's nothing here could possibly go wrong? Well, things did go wrong. I looked over my shoulder to discover that I was floating alone in the sea of loneliness. There was no life jacket or buoy being tossed out to capture my sense of consuming, ever-present feelings of dread and despair. Picking myself up by the bottoms of my heavy trodden feet that felt like such a daunting task that I was sure I'd never had the strength to bear. This is where I found the reservoir. And this is where the poem changes. The Black woman's extra dose of pick yourself up and do what your mama told you, helping a Black woman's fortitude. The magic elixir comes with special instructions. Use when needed. There's no such thing as an overdose. Keep this until good and ready out of the hands of children. When the pain becomes unbearable, don't go back to the hair of the dog that bit you unless he's a good dog with some new tricks. But then again, there's no need to repeat bad history. Instead, go to the reservoir, the place where the ancestors gathered, the reservoir, the place that manages the risk of emotional flooding.
You said emotional flooding.
Emotional flooding.
Yeah.
Because I had to consult this young lady. I had lunch duty in the cafeteria, and a
Mhm.
horde of girls just got up without a pass, without permission, and they just all walked out of the cafeteria. And they all went into the bathroom, like 6 of them. And this one girl came out, her eyes were all red. She was crying. I mean, she was like literally doing the ugly cry, like, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? You were fine a minute ago. And she said, I can't believe. And then the one girl said, like, it was like the mama girl. I call her the mama girl. She said, she put her hand on her hip and she said, girl, you need to just let that go. I told you you need to let that go a while ago, didn't I? And then she walks over and sits down like she proclaimed, being the mama girl. I was like, wow. And I sat there and it was like early in the day and I had the double duty and I was like, okay. Reservoir, the place that manages the risk of emotional flooding. And then I thought about the mama girl. She just put her
Yeah.
hand on her hip. You need to let it go. There is such good material in high school study halls. In the cafeteria, boy, you see some good stuff.
Yeah. You on mute, Wendy.
My little stuff or where I can find good stuff is usually the news, and not always the headline news, but sometimes the foolishness of the news. And I'm working on, so hopefully next week or so I'll have it done. But I'm working on the irony that the Key Bridge collapsed when Star Spangled Banner has collapsed a long time ago. So I don't know what was holding up the Key Bridge. I don't know what was holding up the Francis Scott Key Bridge. So I'm trying to figure out how to
Wind those two things
put that
together.
together. Yes, how to put those two together. But again,
Gonna be a good one. I can't wait. We need to
I
let you
pray
go.
so.
You can go work on that now.
I've been trying to figure out how to piece it together. And I do, though it sometimes doesn't seem that way. I do try to not be offensive to everybody. You don't want to offend everybody, in the process. But if it happens, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I often say if like these kids all know that they provided, material for a lot of stuff I write.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I hear and see things too that I'm like, ooh, like my pastor says, oh, now that preached to me. And I say, oh, no, that's a poem, that's a poem right there. Someone will say something. And I'm like, now that's a poem waiting to happen. Absolutely.
Well, here's
So
another
let's
one.
keep,
Might help
yes.
you with your idea.
Okay.
Here's a poem that might help you get you interested in starting that piece that you had in mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's called What Has Happened to Our Society? As one of many U.S. residents, I am appalled at what has come to be. The present conditions prompt me to ask, what has happened to our society? There was a normal time in this country where matters of right and wrong were quite clear. Recently, though, things have changed for the worse, where truth and justice compete against fear. Nowadays, rude behavior seems okay. Its many forms take center stage, from the rantings of biased Kens and Karens to unfounded election fraud outrage. The source of this current consternation stems from a certain man and his fan base. Collectively, they've turned things upside down, making many problems hard to erase. These persons always go out of their ways to give hard times to those unlike themselves. This only divides the country further, a solution for which anyone delves. It's time for true law and order to reign. That is what most Americans believe. Here we must all forcefully take a stand, granting to those who would harm us no reprieve. Good souls in the USA and abroad must come together and take swift action against all those who share a common goal of destruction through overreaction. Such persons must be hit hard with the truth about everything that they may hold dear. The fog of denial must be lifted so that everything seen by them is clear. Performing this task will not be easy, as many persons are hard to persuade. Among these, some appear to be so dense, preferring to gaslight and then evade. Truth faces yet another challenge here, the thinking that facts don't matter, providing the reason to double down on making their fantasy world shatter. It will likely take a very long time for specific parties to see the light, that sometimes the common ground is quite plain. Simply put, wrong is wrong and right is right. Despite the monumental task at hand, setting parties straight as best as can be, it will be worthwhile no longer asking, what has happened to our society?
Excellent.
Mm.
Excellent.
But that's one of my
That's-
newer pieces.
Okay. Okay. You can hear like the things that are going on. I was going to ask if that was something recent because of all the things that, and the different topics that you brought up. Excellent. I really like that piece. Thank you for sharing that. And very
Oh, certainly.
apropos for what we were talking about. Definitely. Definitely. I will I have one, and perhaps to here we go again, Ro. I'm going to try to bring it up a little bit, but it doesn't always work. This one is called If, Then, Not Black. If, then, not Black. When did the measurement of Blackness become a controversial issue? Is it because a non-Black said it? Is it because he said what we've been saying all along? If on the tongue of someone not mainstreamed into the culture, if it sounds offensive, it's not him, it's you. For years, I haven't been Black in the eyes of some of my people, with sugar in my grits and on my rice, and I'm not particularly fond of fried chicken. The threat of revoking my Black card stands in the wind. When I say I don't want my cornbread to touch my collard greens, or I can't hula hoop or double dutch because I can't jump in, if that's the yardstick, then I'm not Black. And I question, when a lesser qualified colleague free of insoluble pigments gets to be a fireball or a mover and a shaker, when she speaks with passion and intensity, yet when I speak with the same vehemence, I am categorized as aggressive and of a less desirable behavior. If I conjugate my verbs, speak without cultural vernacular, and if I monitor my tone and avoid speaking with my whole person just to be heard and allowed at the table, then am I not Black? When in crowds of my peers, Boosie comes on and I don't know who he is, or if I don't know the difference between T.I. and Lil Wayne, if I can't quote a line from Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, or any of the Fridays, yet I know a dream deferred and for color girls only verbatim, and I refuse to defer my dream to be classified with greats like Zora, Maya, Gwendolyn, and Lorraine. If I don't know African American pop culture, but I'm drenched in the words of our civil rights activists and freedom fighters and rooted in the tales of our lives spun from the Harlem Renaissance till date, then am I not Black? If we keep allowing our level of Blackness to be dictated by what society says, then at some point they will be Blacker than us. If Rachel Dolezal hadn't have been exposed while pretending to be Black, then she'd still be Black. If Biden could be any more like Obama, he would take it back. And if doing so meant he'd have to trade in privilege for a blessing and a burden, then he'd gladly be Black. If James, who was only brown, could have said it any louder, then he'd have to be Blacker because he couldn't have been any prouder. My Blackness is not about my thoughts. My thoughts may differ because I'm Black. Culturally, I've been predisposed to a way of life where my origins are difficult with precision to trace. It's the richness in thinking and doing and being that started out on another continent in a different time and place. If I do or don't do something, then whether I am Black or not can't be contained by simple hypothesis followed by your limited conclusion, and most certainly won't get you any closer to what the truth is. Your consumption of my heritage could cause you diabetic ketoacidosis. They say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juices. A lineage this rich can only be ingested in small doses. And if I don't feel the need to define it or explain it, then it's not because I'm Black, it's because I am.
Oh, yes. That's what I
That
call a
was,
cogent piece.
say that again?
That's what I call a cogent piece of work indeed.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. That was after, I don't remember what it was, but Biden said something and people jumped all over it because he said something
I
about
remember.
someone. Yeah, he said something
Yeah.
about someone not, then they're not Black or something like that. And people felt like, he
Yeah,
can't say that.
right.
Like he can't say that. But he said what we have been saying, like when they say you can't play spades, you can't do
Right.
this, you can't do this. So also, I mean,
Can we continue the theme?
yes, hold on one second. Let's say hello to Lizelle Powder from the Powder
Hi.
Room. Hey, Lizelle, thank you for joining
Lizelle,
us.
hello, hello.
Always great to see that bright smile.
Yeah.
You're going to
Nice.
share with us tonight as well?
Yeah, I'll share something.
Our theme has gone from we've gone from the Pledge of Allegiance to the Star Spangled Banner. Neil set us off. That's what it was. Neil, this is what he does. He says just one thing and he just sets us off. So, Ro, you wanted to continue with the theme?
Yeah, I got a
And we'll
short
come to you, Lizelle, after Ro.
Okay.
called Deep Black. This deep, dark thing I am called Black is powerful. It's full-bodied like dark roasted seeds from good Mother Earth. It comes boldly forward, remembering the day it couldn't because it was tied down by physical chains, hatred, and poverty. It stands up tall, using its full height and strength to look over the fence for opportunities to blossom. There have been times when the Black blossoms were pulled from the root and ground into bits and pieces like forgotten remnants of fossil fuel. Baby, we came up from the ground up, giving birth to diamonds under all that pressure, pressure that looked like it was killing off our breed, pressure that pushed us down only to change the direction in which a full revolution would explode. Now that's true Black girl magic. No bunnies, wizards, or wands involved, just pure know-how, wants to and gots to pushing it out. Don't forget about the ones already lying in their graves, dead cold, but left us their inheritance, teaching us enough to be woke. Some woke enough to see the revolution, and some be the revolution. This life is too short not to be thankful for all your deep Black roots.
All right, Ro, I hear you.
Nice.
I hear you.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice, nice.
yeah. Life is too short. That's right. That's right. Black roots. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Lizelle, well, we've got Lizelle, let us get because we've got two more videos, and I'm trying not to get fired so quick in the game. So if we can get one more video, Minister Chris, and then Lizelle, you know how it is when you're at work and you're about to get fired, so you try to fix it up real quick. So, Minister Chris, if we could have the next video, and then Lizelle will have you next.
Okay.
My husband and my husband's poet friends write lots and lots and lots and lots of poems about superheroes. Wonder Woman, Gumby. I don't know these folks. Batman, Superman. I don't know, name them. Thor, Wolverine. Thank you, Spider-Man. And when they're done with the poems, the audience goes crazy, whooping and clapping and snapping, as if my husband and his poet friends have said something. And this makes me feel real alone, you know, because not only do I not know these superheroes, except I know Wonder Woman because, damn, her hips are so beautiful. And she has those cool bangles, but I don't really care to know them. So here's what I'd like to share. Gail's brief list of superheroes number 1. My Aunt Ruth. Because her black church pocketbook grew dollars that turned into my master's degree in my midnight steak and cheese superhero number 2. My Uncle Claude. Because that Bama has got 1 eyebrow and 9 fingers. He says nobody needs 10. And he means it when he tells Aunt Ernestine, you ain't going nowhere. Yeah, woman, because I'm 50 years in this. And if you try to walk away from me, I'm going to drag a dirty blanket up beside you, Ernestine. Do you hear me, Steenie? And I'm going to sleep right there at your sister's house, right where you are. Superhero number 3. My poodle Jocko. Because he never stopped waiting on my school bus. 3:17 p.m. every day, even when he got old, and even when he got arthritic, and even when he couldn't no longer hold his peace. Superhero number 4. Well, that's me. Cause see, when my daughter's father fell more in love with street corners than me, I gathered the baby up. You know, and together we flew, and I don't have a cape. I can't afford the cleaning bill. My daughter says I don't need one. So I am going to let my husband and his poet friends keep their superhero poems, because I'm gonna stay right here on the ground flying. I want to keep going.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I like the mama wit. Just like, I'm gonna
Yes.
just tell you. Yeah, that was good.
I like that. That was I had to write that down if
So did I.
anybody else. Gail Danley, superheroes. I like that.
Yep. So
Good.
more or less an appreciation piece in a way to appreciate them. There are heroes in our everyday lives, not necessarily from the comic books.
Absolutely.
And it seems to be a mix there. Was that supposed to be a standard routine somehow, that incorporating that into the poetry?
I don't know. I don't know, but I thought it flowed, you know, everything flowed. I thought it flowed.
Like when she got her aunt
Yes.
and purse in the college application.
Yes, yes. I laughed because she said her uncle who had 1 eyebrow and 9 fingers. And it's funny because you think like that wouldn't be relevant, but I think like, you know, in certain families, like you notice that you'd be like, you know, Uncle such and so, but he's, you know, he's got this, that, and the other, but you know, he only got 1 eyebrow. That would be kind of the thing that I would see. Let's say hello to Sajid G. He said, good evening, everyone. I'm watching from Pakistan.
Oh, wow.
Good evening, Sajid G. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Lizelle, you're up next.
Okay.
You muted. You muted.
Sorry. Okay. All right. I wrote this one. It's called The Waltz Solar Eclipse Style. Slim, tall, tuxedo, bow tie, shiny shoes, pointy tips, silhouette in dark shadows move close. Creep up passion flows, goes, the mood is set. Draw closer to me, feel my heat. She's ready as she glows in her hidden dress. Her platforms stand on the fogs of the universe, as the gray blankets hover over to cushion their love of connection. He finds her and caresses her hands in his as her radiance spoke to him to move closer. Oh, divine, they dance close as the Milky Way watched in approval as his hidden figure surrounded her. They squeezed each other as the halo sanctioned their love. The slow waltz began at a standstill, the cool air soothing their lonely spots. He felt pressure to let go, but he did, as he drifts away slowly, their last farewell till the next show, leaving her behind all alone to weep in the gray blankets that dried her tears.
Wow. Excellent. Excellent. As usual. Excellent. Did you write this before the eclipse, after, or during the eclipse?
Write it today. I wrote it today.
All right.
I
An eclipse
compared
of
the eclipse as two people connecting.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Did you watch the eclipse?
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
anyone? Neil, were you in the path of totality?
No,
No. Lizelle, I don't believe you were either. Were you, or were you in the path of totality?
No.
No. Okay. Dan's row, did you all go out and watch it?
Yeah.
Yes. We didn't get total darkness. We came close though.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
yeah.
asking if I saw it in totality? That's what you're asking?
No, well, the path of totality would be, did you get total darkness? Did it cover
Yeah, the
totally?
whole thing. We saw the whole thing, yeah.
Okay.
It
Did it
got a
get
little
dark like
dark and-
nighttime?
To me, I find it still had a little light. So
Okay.
it got a little dark, but the temperature dropped. So,
Yes.
it was okay. It was good.
Okay. Okay. I went to Reservoir Park here in Harrisburg. The park is kind of on a hill, and I went to the top where the Civil Rights Museum is. No, it's not the Civil Rights, the Civil War Museum. Sorry, wrong civil. The Civil War Museum. It was a Freudian slip. It was a Freudian slip. But I sat out and I enjoyed watching it, but what I really enjoyed was watching the people watch it. So I'm definitely a people watcher, and so I definitely enjoyed that. Um, let's see, we've got about 12 minutes. Neil, do you have anything else you want to share?
something short. Yeah.
Okay.
Just take a picture. We'll finish up what the president was talking about
Okay.
in the story. But it's like I said, this is 1981, and this is when this occurs. It's sort of like if you want to go back into, it's like what might have been if this person rose up, what might have been if Reagan had died.
Okay.
This is the president, the new president. He turned and stood at the podium. Hold your applause till I'm finished, he said. George Washington, our first president, was the first American fascist. My fellow Americans, we are the Fourth Reich, and we shall be for 1,000 years. I am not bringing something new to this country. This is who our founding fathers were. All men are created equal was written in the Declaration of Independence. And when the Declaration of Independence when was the Declaration of Independence written? Was it not July 4th, 1776? And didn't this country have slaves in 1776? And wasn't Thomas Jefferson the leader, documented slave owner? And George Washington, our first president, the same? Hence, our founding fathers didn't see blacks as men. Men in their eyes were white men, Aryan. And is it not written in the Declaration of Independence? I quote, merciless Indian savages, Our founding fathers did not see Indians as men, but as savages. He lifted a document. This is the new Declaration of Independence that had to be written because the liberals and radical left were allowed to institute laws that wouldn't have the support of our founding fathers if they were alive today. If we allow the liberals and radical left to grow, a black man will become president in this country one day. The angry voices from the men and women in the audience yelled over our dead body. It's time to take our country back. Stop there.
Right. All right.
Nice.
Somewhere Neil has a beret and a black leather jacket.
That's right.
Neil, you don't have to tell us. I know you got the uniform. It's okay. You know how they say on social media, tell us you're something without saying it. We hear you. We hear you.
That's right.
We hear you. Ro, do you wanna share something?
Okay, I got a short one.
Okay. I've managed to pull a short one out too.
Okay, this one's called Black Mama's Day. I am the mother to all the Black babies in the world because I am the sister to all the Black mamas of the world. We are all connected by the same birth pains that gave us entry into the empty spaces of our hurt feelings, broken promises by men that seriously thought that the words doormat were stamped across our foreheads in permanent ink. We all walk down the same path, the one with the hidden agendas, backward compliments coming from mouths that have been whitewashed into believing that reaching a hand out to touch a Black woman's hair isn't an acceptable microaggression that we should simply be willing to bear. We are all sisters sojourning to places where our degrees, intellectual abilities, and words that spill from our mouths that some say, thought you were white, or you're quite articulate for a Black woman. Sometimes we find ourselves telling all our truths, spilling the tea while drinking the coffee in order to stay woke. The motherland ain't in Africa no more. It's the place where all Black mamas trying to keep their Black babies off the streets and corridors' cold slabs. This is just the beginning of this tale because happy ever afters are earned and not passed out like lollipops, laced with goodness and happiness. See, we coming to you, not at you, because we all just Black mamas standing on business.
All right.
Black
And
mama.
business.
Yay.
Yes, I like
Black
that.
mama standing on business.
Standing on business. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'll follow you with that, Ro. This is called whitewashed. Called whitewashed. I was in kindergarten when I found out. I painted him the way I saw him. His eyes were dark and friendly. His afro did a cameo from beneath his hat. He had dimples, but he wasn't jolly because, well, Black men aren't jolly. I was proud of him as I told the others the glorious stories of all he would do. They seemed frightened, shocked. Their small faces turned the color of his jacket, and the teacher was appalled. Appalled. She said that word. Yes, he's big and tall, I explained, stretching my hands to the ceiling while standing on my tippy toes. But he'll fit, honest, was all my 4-year-old mind could say. And then she said it. Santa is not Black. But she said it like Black was a bad word. It sounded like a crime or a transgression, sounded like filth, sounded like she had figured out a way to suck the magic out of the wonder of a Black man. It sounded like she offended my father. I said, my daddy said, I knew I was wading in uncharted barracuda-filled waters. If a white man comes to our house in the middle of the night, I was confident in the protection he provided. I continued to dispatch with confidence and conviction. My daddy said, and that white man don't ring the doorbell. My daddy said he's going to get his shotgun. 45 years later, and little kids are still painting and coloring snowflakes and snowmen. Christmas was whitewashed to avoid the culture of our Blackness. And 45 years later, I'm still sitting in the principal's office with my daddy defending me. Her Santa is Black, like her father, like the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy. Only one not black in our house is the Boogeyman. For extra measure, he added, and for show and tell, every doll will be black too. Black girls have black babies. And I loved how it sounded when he said it. It sounded like overdue black girl entitlement and privilege, sounded like perfection, like I could hide in it and behind it I was proud. My daddy said it. I wondered, why didn't my black baby dolls look like the white ones? Their eyes were never quite right. Their hair never combed the same, and they whitewashed playing house because they didn't understand how house is in my culture. We've been mommies to white babies that only believe in white Santas for generations. So they took the life out of our eyes and made our hair look like theirs. And 45 years later, I'm still checking the eyes on dolls and figurines, yet I continue to bask in the beauty of my blackness. I take pride in their inability to reproduce or duplicate the soul in my eyes. I find pleasure in their curiosity of the enchantment of my hair. I watch Black Santas caring for their families, shotgun ready, always defending their position. No time for jolly here. And I hear their laughter. Sounds like thunder, sounds like an orchestra, sounds like God clapping his hands, sounds like protection. Because he knows as long as Black girls have Black daddies, Black tooth fairies, and Black Santas, they can't whitewash Black love.
Love that one.
Yep.
Thank you.
Definitely a signature piece for you.
Yay.
Okay. Thank you. I want to make sure that I don't get fired. Minister Chris, because then I have to come to each of you all for a job. So Minister Chris, can we have, I don't think we have time for the video, but, or do we have time for the video? Or is it time for the announcements?
Either or, the video's 2 minutes.
Okay. Whew. All right, we'll go with the video.
He never wore a cape or a costume with fancy imbued gadgets or a J on his chest. Yes, in fact, he looked the most unlikely to save humanity. Born in a manger, the son of a carpenter, but still the only hope of mankind, one of a kind. My favorite superhero is not like the rest of them. You know those characters on your TV screens and comic books who obviously save only a portion of the world? Well, my favorite superhero is not only real, he also came for the whole world. Emerging on Earth with one mission in mind, to subdue Satan the villain and to defeat death, introducing life. My favorite superhero used his superpowers, defying the laws of science and nature. He walked on water, healed the sick, raised the dead, and turned water into wine. And with love, his greatest superpower, he did not condemn or discriminate despite all the hate, and this love compelled him to the cross, where the final showdown took place. And he had to flex his brave, enduring all the torture and pain. He stood in our place, carrying our sins on his shoulders so that we might be saved. And having uttered, "It is finished," my favorite superhero died. But it did not end there, for he made a mockery of death, rising on the third day in victory, making history. Yes, he is alive till this day. My favorite superhero is now seated in majesty at the right hand of God. And having embraced his gift of salvation, I am seated with him, far above principalities, powers, and all the evils of this world. My favorite superhero still answers at the mention of his name. And regardless of the seeming trouble or danger you are in, you have not gone too far for him to rescue you. For he is the Savior of the world, God himself in flesh. My favorite superhero is Jesus. Who is yours?
All right. I like
Yeah,
it.
a lot of superhero theory, a lot of superhero. Yeah.
I love that the wind was blowing the trees behind her. That was awesome. It seemed that blew more times than others. We have two announcements that I want to bring up, and then we will adjourn for the night. Minister Chris, can we get those the flyers? We have we wear the mask coming up. We have We Wear the Mask Saturday, April 20th at Central Penn College. We Wear the Mask, National Poetry Month. Doors open at 2, workshop, meet and greet, and poetry readings. It is free, so please come out and join us. There'll be refreshments, goodwill offering, vendors, silent auction, music, and door prizes. And we also have, also sponsored by Nathaniel Gadsden's Writers Wordshop and Life Esteem Incorporated. We have on, I believe, the 24th, Minister Chris, Senior Resource Fair. It's free to the public. It is on April 24th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Heinz Menaker Senior Center on North 4th Street. Scam awareness, bingo, Medicare benefits, how to save with the electric, coupons, door prizes, food, and refreshments. Also free to the community. Please make sure you come out. Please make sure you celebrate National Poetry Month. Thank you to everyone that has joined us here. Neil, Roe, Lizelle, Dan, we've had Ohio, LA, Nate Gaston jumped on, and we've even had Pakistan. Thank you all for joining. I am Wendy Washington No Chirionye, standing in for Reverend Dr. Nathaniel Gaston, known as Denzel in some small remote places, and hope to see you guys next week.
Good night.
Okay,
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.